Gene calling us from Texas. Hey, Gene.
Hello. Are you able to hear me?
I am.
Thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome.
My question is regarding index accounts. I paid off all my debt. I'm debt-free, and I was considering to move an amount of money into an index account where I would still have liquidity, and but I didn't want that much money just laying around doing nothing.
Mm-hmm. Well, Gene, how old are you, Gene? Are you retired, did you say?
I am 60. I have not retired.
So an index fund, if you have your money in an index fund, that means it is tied to a stock index. And it doesn't mean that it's just tied to that index as far as tracking it in some way. It means that the fund manager of that index fund is putting in your index fund the exact same things that are in the S&P 500. And a lot of index funds, as a matter of fact, aren't even managed. They're unmanaged funds. They just, they have this S&P 500 in it, and it is what it is. So it puts you at 100% exposure to the markets. Now, I don't think it's a good idea for anybody to be 100% exposed to the stock market right now. So that would, make a case for not being in this index fund, because I don't think that's a good idea. But certainly someone that may be 6-7 years away from being somewhat dependent on this money in maybe some way, shape, or form for their supplementing their income maybe, or some other needs, I definitely don't think that we ought to have 100% of your money in an index fund.
This is an index universal life insurance.
Okay. Well, that makes it even...
It is tied in, as I can see on the diagram, with the stock market.
Yeah.
At least that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, I would not do that, even consider it. So since it's a universal life, that means the index fund that they're using is charging the life insurance company for the permission to use their fund. That charge is coming right off the top of the performance of the fund. And so that's one problem. Not to mention there are going to be fees because there are mortality charges inside that insurance product, and there's going to be fees that are going to come right off the top of the return of that index fund. So an index fund that goes bad is going to do a lot worse than that. An index fund that does good is not going to do as good inside that product. So I would tell people that if you really want to be in an index fund, I got nothing against index funds. They're good. I mean, they're not biblically responsible. But aside from that, I don't have anything against index funds. It's a good way to invest, throw your money in an index fund, and, don't wake up for another 30, 40 years. Everything's great. And I wouldn't worry about it. But at the same time, if you want to do that, you would be far better off going to the fund itself, going to a Vanguard index fund or one of the index funds, and put your money directly in the index fund, because it's not that you could do better. You absolutely will do better, even if the fund that the insurance company's using is the Vanguard index fund. You'll do better by putting it directly in, because you won't have those fees coming off the top. If that makes sense.
Okay. So, well, this one supposedly guarantees that what you put in, it does not fall lower than what you put in.
So then the question has to be to the company, the question I always tell people to ask: if they will put in writing to you, the company, whatever company this is, that your principal, you put in $100,000, I'm saying, and whatever it is, 10,000, doesn't matter. You put your principal in, and your principal will grow every year by an absolute minimum of that 2%, or whatever the minimum is, and be compounded the next year. And so that 100,000 plus the 2% is invested for the next year. And again, the index doesn't do anything, so you get 2% again. And now you have this $102,000 that is compounding by 2% again. And there is no chance that you could lose any of your principal. The only risk you have is only making 2% on your principal, and your principal has to go up. Now, they say it's guaranteed, and that's what you think is going to happen. So there should be no problem with them putting that in writing. If they do it, and that sounds good to you, then that's fine. Go ahead and do it. They won't put it in writing because that's not how the calculation works. So my problem is they're never what they seem to be. But if they are what they seem to be, then they won't have any trouble putting that in writing for you. And if they do put it in writing for you, call me because I may even want to do it. But they're not going to.
Okay,
they're not going to put it in writing.
That's what they say. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you, Gene.